A single castle. Over 850 years. One unbroken bloodline. Perched on a wooded ridge and wrapped in mist, Eltz Castle still holds the axe of a 15th century warrior maiden embedded in its stone walls. Eltz Castle isn't just a medieval stronghold, it's a living legacy, guarded by the Elsbach stream and untouched by conquest or decay. While others fell to fire and war, Eltz endured, thanks to a rare shared ownership system that kept family and fortress united. But unity can crack. In the 14th century, the castle faced its greatest threat, a 5-year siege that tested every stone and every bond. To understand how this family defied centuries of destruction, we have to return to where it all began. A rocky ridge, a rising dynasty, and a dream in stone. But before we step deeper into the story, we have a small favor to ask. Most people watch without subscribing, and honestly, we get it. But if you believe history matters, if you think places like Eltz Castle deserve to be remembered, preserved and passed down, then that one click makes all the difference. It costs nothing, but it helps us keep these stories alive, generation after generation, just like the family who never let this castle fall. So, if you're with us, hit that subscribe button. Now, let's go back, before the cannons, before the contracts, before the ghost in the Rubinach wing. This is where it all began. Rudolf von Eltz's rise in 1157 marked the official beginning of the Eltz dynasty. As a witness to a deed of donation by Emperor Frederick I Barbarossa, Rudolf secured a crucial alliance with the powerful Hohenstaufen dynasty. In the volatile world of 12th century imperial politics, that connection gave the Eltz family the protection and status they needed to carve out a future. Construction of Eltz Castle soon followed. The earliest structure, the Romanesque Platteltz Keep, was compact and built for defense, with thick walls, rounded arches, and narrow firing slits. Perched atop a rocky spur and almost entirely surrounded by the Elsbach stream, the site offered natural protection. Dense forest cloaked the valley, making stealth attacks nearly impossible. For minor nobles vulnerable to feudal rivalries, this leap from exposure to fortification was transformative. The Platteltz, still standing today, is a symbol of the family's early priorities: survival through strength. But stone alone wasn't enough. The Eltz family maintained their position through loyalty, patience, and strategic diplomacy. Their support of Barbarossa earned them land grants, legal privileges, and a seat at the regional table. While others reached for quick power, the Eltz invested in relationships designed to endure beyond a single lifetime. Still, their rise drew attention. Neighboring lords occasionally tested their defenses, forcing the Eltz to strengthen their walls and deepen their imperial ties. By the time Barbarossa's reign ended, the Eltz had secured more than land. They had cemented a legacy. But their next great test wouldn't come from outside invaders. It would come from within their own bloodline. Inheritance often tore noble families apart, but in 1268, the Eltz brothers, Elias, Wilhelm, and Theodorich, chose unity over division. Rather than splitting their estate and weakening their legacy, they pioneered the Ganurbanberg System. Each brother founded a separate branch: Eltz Kempenich, Eltz Rubinach, and Eltz Rodendorf, marked by a golden lion, silver lion, and buffalo horns. Within the castle's shared walls, each line built its own residence, complete with private kitchens and chapels. This wasn't just about comfort, It was about independence within collective strength. To prevent conflict, they turned to law. In 1323, they formalized the Burgfriedensbrief, or castle peace deeds. These contracts governed repairs, shared costs, and forbade any branch from selling its share. It was a brilliant system of enforced cooperation, transforming potential rivalry into long-term resilience. The architecture followed suit. Each line added its mark. Kempenisch constructed the tallest tower, Rübenach built a graceful Gothic wing, and Rodendorf expanded with elaborate fireplaces and tall halls. These weren't just symbols of status, they layered the castle with overlapping defences. If one section fell, the others could hold out. Financially, the system distributed risk. Castle upkeep was steep, but with costs shared, no single setback could lead to ruin. When one branch struggled, the others helped, ensuring continuity across generations. The Ganurbanberg model made Eltz Castle more than a home. It became a fortress of cooperation, an architectural and familial alliance that stood firm through time. But even the strongest foundations can be tested. And in the 14th century, that test came when a siege threatened not just their walls, but the very unity that held them together. In 1331, Archbishop Baldwin of Trier set his sights on Eltz Castle, determined to bring the independent family under his control. Just 160 meters away, he built Trutzeltz, Spite Eltz, a siege castle designed to dominate the valley. From this perch, Baldwin's troops launched heavy stones with trebuchets and, in a chilling first for German siege warfare, used early cannons called pots de fer. Primitive and unreliable, they nonetheless thundered across the valley, marking a turning point in medieval combat. Johann of Eltz led the defence. The castle's natural setting, wrapped by the Elsbach stream, and its Ganurbanberg layout gave the defenders multiple fallback positions. But Baldwin didn't rely solely on firepower. His true weapon was starvation. By seizing the valley and severing supply lines, he aimed to break the Eltz through siege alone. Inside, the family endured a grinding war of attrition. Food dwindled, nights were restless. For years the castle held firm, but by 1336, exhaustion forced their hand. A treaty ended the standoff. The Eltz surrendered their status as free imperial knights and became vassals of Trier. Yet what followed was pure Eltz diplomacy. Baldwin enfeoffed Johann with Trutzeltz itself, turning the siege castle into a family asset. Stones once launched in anger were eventually recycled into Eltz's own walls. Though they lost autonomy, the Eltz kept their home and their legacy intact. The castle stood scarred but strong, a testament to resilience and adaptation. And with peace came opportunity. The next chapter would see not just survival, but expansion. Renaissance ambition reshaped Eltz Castle as the family's fortunes grew. Between 1470 and 1520, the Greater Rodendorf house rose along the hillside, a 10-story residence with tall late Gothic windows and early Renaissance symmetry. The little Rodendorf house, finished around 1540, reflected a further shift. Simpler frames, less verticality, and a quiet embrace of new ideals. These additions weren't just stylistic. They signaled a desire to showcase both heritage and sophistication. The Rübenach houses, completed in 1472, preserved late Gothic elegance. Pointed arches framed tall windows, vaulted ceilings soared above the Hall of Knights, and frescoes, like a night in prayer, survive to this day. In the lower fireplace room, carved stone anchored domestic life. These spaces reflected a shift in priorities: comfort, beauty, and personal identity, not just defense. Political power followed architecture. In 1567, Jacob III zu Eltz became Elector of Trier and served as Archbishop until 1581. His influence reshaped the family's future, granting the Kempernick fiefdom to Anton in 1573 and bestowing the hereditary marshal title in 1580. Their rise was now embedded in both stone and empire. As the Kempernick line gained prominence, they expanded their wing with Renaissance flair. Symmetrical facades, classical pilasters, and formal window patterns. Inside, the electoral hall and treasure chamber became showcases of wealth and legacy, designed to awe visitors. Maintaining this grandeur was costly. The family's fortunes were tied to shifting alliances in church and empire, and every expansion demanded resources. By the 16th century, Eltz Castle stood as a blend of medieval resilience and Renaissance prestige. But even the finest architecture can't guard against the storms of history forever. In 1794, French revolutionary troops occupied the Rhineland, and Eltz Castle faced its greatest threat in centuries. Soldiers seized the fortress, stripped it of furnishings, and expelled the family. For the first time in 600 years, the Eltz lost control of their ancestral home. This wasn't a temporary setback. Revolutionary laws abolished noble privileges and confiscated estates, putting generations of legacy at risk. Count Hugo Philipp von Eltz-Kempernick responded not with resistance, but with patience. He retreated to Mainz, avoiding conflict while quietly monitoring the changing political tide. His strategy paid off. After the Treaty of Campo Formio in 1797, Hugo Philipp negotiated with new authorities, pledged loyalty, and secured documents restoring his ownership, even as the castle stood damaged and looted. The decisive moment came in 1815, after Napoleon's defeat. Hugo Philipp purchased the Rubinack family's remaining share of the castle, 12,000 thalers for the buildings, 80,000 for the surrounding lands. For the first time in centuries, Eltz Castle belonged to a single branch, ending the Ganurbanberg System. It was a costly but unifying move, laying the foundation for restoration. With feudal dues abolished, the family faced new financial challenges. They converted estates into working farms to support the upkeep of the castle. French troops had left their mark, and repairs were urgent. But with single ownership came clarity, and a renewed focus on preservation. This consolidation set the stage for Eltz Castle's rebirth in the 19th century. The walls would be repaired, the legacy rebuilt. But the stories inside, some whispered, some boldly retold, would continue to echo for generations. Some of Eltz Castle's most enduring stories echo through the Rubinack house, where the legend of Agnes von Eltz, the armor maiden, takes center stage. In the 15th century, Agnes was caught between duty and desire. Betrothed to a knight for political reasons, but in love with another, she defied expectations when her rejected suitor laid siege to the castle. Rather than hide, Agnes donned her brother's armor and fought beside the defenders. Some say she was struck down by an arrow. Others claim she died of her wounds after the battle. Her axe remains embedded in the wall of the Knight's Hall, and her spirit is said to linger, especially near her old bedroom and the hall where she made her final stand. Other legends whisper through the oldest corridors. The sleeping knights of Eltz, echoing tales from across Europe, claim a band of loyal defenders lies in enchanted sleep beneath the castle. They'll awaken only when Eltz faces its gravest danger. It's fantasy rooted in fact, These knights once signed the Burg Friedensbriefe, pledging unity in times of crisis. Visitors and staff report chills, whispers, or footsteps in empty rooms, especially near the old well in the Romanesque wing. Are you alone, or is history watching? Stories of hidden treasures and secret passages add to the mystery. Some believe vaults lie beneath the castle, hiding valuables from wartime, or that forgotten maps reveal escape routes lost to time. At Eltz, the line between myth and memory blurs. Its ghosts, guardians, and legends don't just haunt. They preserve the choices, emotions, and sacrifices that made the castle endure. Across 33 generations, Eltz Castle has remained unbroken, never sold, never conquered, never divided. It stands as a rare testament to intentional legacy, where careful planning and collective vision outlasted war, revolution, and time itself. Through legal foresight, adaptability, and shared stewardship, the Eltz family preserved more than just stone. They preserved identity. Today, Count Johann Jakob continues that tradition, balancing history with the demands of the present. Eltz Castle isn't just a relic, it's proof that with purpose, even the past can endure. If you believe stories like this deserve to be remembered, if you believe legacy is worth protecting, then help us keep these voices alive. Subscribe for more tales of medieval castles, courage, and the people who refuse to let their history fade.